Hello, hello, hello. Let's get this thing rolling. Are we live? Are we live? Are we live? Yes. Okay. So it turns out we are live. This is Tales from the Crypt Keeper 16, Mansion of Many Mistakes. I'm working on this comic. This is page 1. I thought it'd be cool to give you an introduction to the comic and the story. This is one of the 3 stories in issue 16, and pre-order will be available by the end of July 2024. That's coming up pretty soon. So we'll have 3 stories. This is one of the main ones. We've got 2 main stories and one kind of a side one. And this is the main character you're seeing right here. And let's see, if you have any questions, be sure to just type them out and let me know in chat. I'm going to be working on inking this, and I think I will go ahead. If you know me, I'm a fan of horror and sci-fi. Those are my 2 favorite genres. So, I thought I would talk about the new movie coming out, Alien Romulus, because, Alien definitely fits the horror and the sci-fi genres perfectly. I don't know that there's a better franchise for horror and sci-fi than Alien. So, I thought I'd talk about it because you know what movie just came out finally on streaming? For the first time, how long has the Alien Covenant been out? And it's never come to streaming. And it finally came out to streaming. It's streaming on Hulu now. I was right on that. I've watched it 3 times since it came out. I saw it in theaters, and I thought I would give my thoughts on it while I worked, because I have a few thoughts on it. I'm kind of overall, I guess I didn't like it, but I do think it has some good qualities to it, and I do want to. It's got enough about it that you can talk about it and have discussions, which I think is great for a movie. But I have a few things I liked about it, have a few things I didn't like about it, probably more things I didn't like about it. But it's not a terrible movie. So it's I guess you could say it's a competent movie. You might argue that, but I definitely have some things that I would like to talk about, because you know what, the Prometheus Covenant duet, whatever you call those, a pair of movies, we never get a 1 and 2 anymore. It's always a trilogy. So I don't know, the pair of movies definitely garners a lot of conversations. I want to go ahead and talk about some things I like and some things I don't like about the movie Alien Covenant. So my biggest gripe about this movie was straight off the bat, biggest, most obvious thing was I hated that they just washed over the whole premise that they started in Alien Prometheus. I guess the Prometheus. So, they leave off with Elizabeth Shaw and David, going out into the stars. They're going to the alien homeworld. I was very excited for, the whole mythos of engineers and why we were created and why they wanted to destroy us. I was very excited for them to get into that and explore that. That's a really cool storyline that got set up. And then they just meh, trash that. Who cares? Nobody was really interested in that. I don't know why they completely abandoned that storyline. That's very odd, and it didn't make a whole lot of sense to me why they did that. It left me pretty upset, as I was watching it in the theater. I remember that just being very, very disappointed. So we're moving on to what was this? It felt like Covenant was the 3rd installment of a trilogy, and Prometheus should have been the first movie, and then the second movie just vanished. And I would be interested to know what happened behind the scenes. Was there a second movie planned? because it definitely feels like a whole chapter of a 3-chapter series is just not existent. I was very excited for the engineers, very excited to, like, get into that storyline. And they were nothing more than just like a visual prop in the third movie. Like, what the heck? They come on screen and a few seconds later, everyone's gone. So that's what it felt a lot like, where Last Jedi kind of stuff, where in the first movie they, Rey's handing off the lightsaber to Luke, and then they're like, see you later. Don't care about that. Let's just forget about that. And it didn't even feel like they were trying to subvert your expectations. It just felt like something weird was going on, and there's some kind of explanation that I don't know of. I have not gotten into the YouTube videos about what happened, or everybody's opinions on this movie, or what, that kind of thing. I wanted to sort of go into it fresh. I'm giving my opinions without other people affecting those opinions. These are completely my opinions. So we get into the engineer's homeworld, and they're gone as soon as we get introduced to them. I do remember seeing people's opinions that maybe that wasn't the engineer's homeworld. Maybe that wasn't engineers, but another group of, another civilization, which I'm not sure if that's even more disappointing or less disappointing. But anyways, what's more disappointing than that duet of movies just being done? Forget it. I know there was some comics about the aliens, but from what I did read, I was like, this is more just more original Alien movie comics, where there's not much big concepts being explored. And I'll just get into that right now. What I did like about this movie is the same thing I loved about Prometheus, where, I know a lot of people don't like Prometheus, and I was one of the few people who did like Prometheus. But I'm not trying to convince you that it's a great movie, but I liked that with Prometheus and Covenant, they kind of are exploring and injecting universal concepts, and some of the stuff that sci-fi novels are meant to be written for and to explore. Some of these universal humanistic what am I trying to describe? The things like, where did we come from? Where did life come from? That kind of stuff. I liked in Covenant. Watching it the second time, I realized, how on the mark it is with, AI and Android, because David, they're pretty much comparing David to the Xenomorph. He is the creator of the Xenomorph, according to this movie, which is another thing where it's I don't know that that's science, and that I don't know that the timeline works out with the movies, and when you stick it in with all the others, how does that completely make sense? But anyways, they're saying that David is the architect of the Xenomorph that we know in all the movies, and they're basically comparing David as the danger of AI. I think they're lining it up with the Xenomorph, which we all know is the pinnacle of, or the embodiment, that the symbolism of, absolute efficient destruction. That's a very common theme in Alien franchises is, destruction, and destruction that you can't fight, pretty much. Losing to the universe, and death and all that stuff. So we have this whole exploration of AI and how dangerous, they say, in the movie we have AI, they've learned from AI, they've corrected their mistakes, and they just kind of, I like how that story can kind of shows like, doesn't matter if you learn from your mistakes will come back to haunt you and could be your undoing, that kind of thing. That was a cool theme that, you know, made its way into there. I liked that they were referencing classic literature and classic movies. That was one of my favorite things about Prometheus, was the referencing of Lawrence of Arabia. Was that? Is that the name of that movie? I'm trying to remember. But, you know, where he's like, the trick, William Potter, is not minding that it hurts. That whole thing is like doubling down on the AI and how, you know, the trick is being an android. The trick is not being hurt by it, you know. That's where they've kind of got the leg up, not being hurt, having the ethical dilemmas that humans have, that kind of thing. I think it's a very appropriate storyline for the modern times. You know, we're definitely getting into a lot of AI territory these days. AI is here, whether you like it or not. So, yeah, that's one thing I like about the movie. I like that they, you know, there's other movies like Arrival that kind of explore language and time. You know, those like big concepts where, you know, like that's what sci-fi movies, that's when they're at their best. And that's great stuff to nerd out on, and to, you know, for the like intellectual sci-fi nerds. So I like that kind of stuff. I like it when, you know, sci-fi isn't just a skin on a different, like, normal movie. Like, you know, I like the old, who doesn't like the old Alien movies? But they're kind of, they're not as, like, driven to give you those big concepts. And, you know, I guess they did have different writers for Prometheus and for Covenant. And I kind of liked Prometheus better than Covenant. I'll go ahead and say that. I thought Prometheus has a leg up on Covenant. What would your opinion be? Like, did you like Covenant or Prometheus better? Did you like... I'm sure you probably didn't like any of them. Most people don't like Prometheus or Covenant. But, you know what? There's like rankings. I like them a little bit, you know. I would rank Alien 1 and Alien 2, like, those are the best ones. And then I think I would do Prometheus and Covenant after that. There's Aliens 3 and then 4 and 5, and, you know, if you count Predator versus Aliens, that thing, and then like Requiem and all that, like, you know, that's what I'm talking about, where sci-fi is just being used as a skin. And so I like that they actually tried to inject some what's the word, not intelligence, but they tried to inject some I guess intelligence is the right word. Probably looking for some other type, but anyways, you know, they elevated the series with those two movies, in my opinion. And that's what I'm kind of dreading about Alien Romulus, is it kind of looks more like a I don't know, like some kind of heist movie set with Alien. Now, the visuals are going to be pretty amazing with Romulus, I'm guessing, from some of the stuff I've seen. I don't like watching trailers. I did watch the trailer on mute just for fun, and I didn't want to have too much be given away, so that's why I watched it on mute. But it kind of, maybe my phone setting was on really dark, but the movie looked super dark, which I'm not looking forward to. That was one of my complaints about Covenant, was, overall, I didn't like the cinematography on Covenant. I thought the movie overall was way too dark. And I'm surprised because, you know, like Ridley Scott Ridley, he's like a great director, and that was another one of my like things I liked about the movie is I liked the directing. I thought he did a great job directing because I felt like all the actors did a really good job and like outstanding performances by everyone, and I just don't think you get that without a good director. And so here we go. We're talking about Alien Romulus maybe being too dark, and then Covenant being kind of dark. There's not a lot of scenes in Covenant where you can think back in your memory and just like recall like, oh, that scene looked great. There was the landing scene that I thought looked amazing. There was also there was the fight scene outside where you know, they're coming to get rescued. That's pretty bright, and that's definitely something that'll stick out in your memory. But other than that, everything felt so dark. It's like you had your sunglasses on while watching the movie, and it just seemed like nothing kind of got etched onto my visual memory. Because, you know, aside from those two things, I couldn't remember much. There was some nice mood lighting when you're getting into the like whole David's zoology stuff, but overall, I was just not really impressed with the visuals from Covenant. One of the there was a few really weird things in that movie, Covenant, that stuck out to me. That was just like, what? One of those things was when the captain guy is going on a tour with David, and he starts the tour off by saying, you know, when I was a kid, I met the devil, and then yada yada yada. And it was just like, now show me. No, it was like, when I was a kid, I met the devil. Show me what you're doing. It was just like very random and very out of place. Like, are we gonna explain what the heck he was just talking about? Because like, you don't just tell people like, when I was a kid, I met the devil. Like, you got to offer more explanation to that story. Like, what the heck? And his whole like faith and religion sort of was shoehorned in there. And I think that, you know, after watching Raised by Wolves, you definitely get the feeling like Ridley Scott, that's very important to him. That's something he really enjoys kind of injecting into all his sci-fi stuff, is the element of faith and religion. That was actually one of the big hang-ups a lot of people had with Prometheus, because they kind of overdid it in Prometheus. And I would argue that they did as well. So if you felt like they did, I'm right there with you. It was kind of annoying, but I understand. He's kind of, I feel like he was trying to speak the language. He knew a lot of people going into a sci-fi movie. There's a lot of people that, you know, have those exact sentiments where it's like, I believe it, so therefore it's real, that kind of thing. And maybe there's some kind of point to that whole argument, but I don't know, like for a sci-fi movie, you don't really want to like hold up belief systems, like religious belief systems, and have those be on the same level as science, as far as like what you believe is just as valid as what science can prove, that kind of thing. That's a little bit, you know, I think that's where a lot of people got upset at the movie, and I completely understand that. What else did I not like about the movie? You know, we're talking about little things like, what the heck? There was also, I don't know why they chose to do the main female lead's hair the way they did. Her hairstyle really kind of made me tilt my head, being like, why are they trying to make her look like a little boy? Because like she could have, it was so easy to like make her more amazing than what she was. I thought she would, like, have you seen this actress in like off of Covenant? Like, she's beautiful. She's like the petite version of Demi Moore, and yet somehow in this movie, the way I remembered her is like one of the kids from Stranger Things, with the like the bowl haircut or something like that, where it's like there was just like a weird look to her. It was almost like a non-binary look, and I just, she's so much prettier than that. I didn't understand why they did her looks like that. I get that they're trying to make her look capable of doing like manly kind of tasks. Like, she's going to be your lead, you kind of want the males to identify with her as well, but she just looked like a boy to me, and not like a strong female. I don't know, it didn't really work out that well for me. I thought real simple thing could have been maybe work on her hair just a little bit more, give her a better haircut, as I'm working on this character's hair right here. That was a little thing. The other thing I can think of off bat is the very end where he regurgitates 2 alien embryos. That's like there was 2 things wrong with that to me, where first of all, where did those come from? Like, that's the first we're seeing of those, I guess. They kind of pop out, pun intended, pop out of nowhere. They almost look too big to even be able to be coming out of a human throat. And I get it that he's an android, but I mean, when it's bigger than your windpipe, how do you do that? Like, it just doesn't make any sense. It would have made more sense to me, and if it had come out the other end. But I can understand that maybe they didn't want to do that. I'm kind of thinking that the visual of that was important to Ridley Scott, because after watching Raised with Wolves, I think that there was some similar occurring things like that in Raised by Wolves. I think I watched season 1 and 2 of that, and then in that series, I think it just vanished. That was kind of odd. Kind of like the second movie in this series, where it's like, what happened to movie 2? Where in the world is Alien sequel? All right, so what else was a kicker for me? All the deaths, they seemed a little anticlimactic. It's hard for me to put my foot on it, but I liked the death scenes in Prometheus. I thought they were, top-notch horror movie scenes. And then, like, almost every single death scene in Covenant just felt like anticlimactic or rushed, or like, I don't care. Maybe it was they did a better job of kind of fleshing out characters, getting you a little bit more introduced and familiar with the characters before they kill them off. It felt, the very first death in the movie, where James Franco dies in his cryo chamber thing, that kind of set the tone, I think, for all the deaths, where you're just like, okay, they're gone. And like, that happened next. And that's the whole thing. I thought that, the death of the alien in the very final, like the post second, third act, the second, third act, the alien's death was a little drawn out too much. I didn't like that whole sequence. It made me think back to Alien, was it not Requiem, Resurrection? Maybe that's it, where Sigourney Weaver is, like the clone of Sigourney Weaver, and she has this. She's like birthed this, alien or something. Basically, the alien thinks it's her mom, and the death scene kind of gets over pretty quick for one of these post-credit scenes. If you remember, like Aliens, in that one, it kind of seems to drag on a bit too, where you're just like, all right, I was ready for this to be over like 2 minutes ago. So there's that, and in Covenant, that's kind of what I was feeling, where I'm just, I'm done. She's beat this alien before. Why do we have to see her beat it again? It showed the alien's point of view, which I thought was they could have learned from their mistakes in Alien 3. It just deflates any like terror you feel from this xenomorph, like seeing it from its point of view. I don't understand why they did that. That was a really that felt like a very elementary thing to avoid, where like a beginner's mistakes. I have to just believe that someone from the studio was just like, I demand we see the picture of what it looks like from the alien's point of view, and Ridley Scott was just like, fine. But it just doesn't make any sense. Like, he's so much better of a director than that. Like, what the hell? Why did they put the alien point of view in there while it's chasing them? But anyways, it could have, like, I say that because I was imagining it. I on my second or third time watching, I was like, okay, I'm going to watch this and see if it makes sense without those. Could they just easily be edited out like a fan edit? And they could have been. They didn't seem necessary at all. And it just, I think that's like an easy, like, number one rule with a horror movie. Like, you don't show them in the, you don't reveal them until the end, and you keep some mystery to them and all that stuff. And you don't show from the point of view of the monster. That, I don't know, it just didn't work. And the other thing was, it got so kind of dark, and towards the end, like, stuff is breaking and plans are getting disrupted, and it's just like, I can't even tell what's happening. It's so dark. There's stuff on the screen. I don't know what's happening. I know something's going wrong, but I don't know what. And I'm just like, can we just end it already? Like, I don't know. That's where I was with the ending of the movie, and then it sort of picks back up as soon as the xenomorph is trashed, and I got back on board. But the other thing was, about that was, I felt like they sort of dropped the ball with her realizing that, without trying to spoil it for people, when she makes that final realization, it wasn't like this, like, ooh, that was a really brilliant way to write that in. It was just like, I don't know how she would have really understood that, but it felt like that they could have done a really surprising and really, like, haha, twist moment, and it just sort of, I don't know what the word is, like, it fizzed out sort of thing, and it didn't have the emotional impact because it just didn't make a whole lot of sense. It was close, but it just didn't, it was not a hole in one. And it could have been really cool, I think, if they had given the writing a little bit more of a little bit more time to think about that and to, develop that a little bit better. And because that was kind of like they put so much work into that big twist reveal, and then it was almost like the delivery didn't stick the landing. That's what it really felt like. But I liked how there was definitely a neat contrast and comparison with the ending of Prometheus and the ending of Covenant. At the ending of Prometheus, you see Elizabeth Shaw and the android, in a spaceship, and it's those two characters, and they're flying off towards the home world with a cargo full of, destruction. and now it's the girl and David, and they've swapped places. Now the girl is not in control, and she is basically, put her head's been removed pretty much. If you think about the power dynamic with the two, and David has all the control and power, and he's going away from the alien world, and he has a cargo full of life, and life that will soon become a weapon. So there's a neat kind of comparison and contrast when you think about the endings for Prometheus and Covenant. But still, I think you could have very easily have put those two movies in a trilogy, and that would have been a good way to still have, like, the whole storyline that you set up. And what are we talking about now? I'm trying to think of anything else about the movie that I liked or didn't like. I liked that the scene where David is, there's a lot about David's character that I just really liked. He's a great character, very interesting. As far as, like, when I say he's great, he's very interesting. They did a great job of fleshing him out, and one of those things was, the infamous flute scene. Maybe they could have found a better way to do it, but I liked how they did it. It was very memorable. I'll give them that. And there was also the scene where he's, like, breathing on the nostrils of the horse. That scene was pretty crazy, and both scenes I feel like are probably controversial, but you know what? They did a good job of making David's character more complex, and definitely giving you a more complex understanding of David, which, if he's going to be the main character, a story is only as good as the villain that is in the story. If the villain is really interesting, the story is interesting, and that conflict is really important. So I don't have any problems, I think, with the flute and the breathing on the mouth of the alien. I think it did serve the purpose of making the movie better. Sure, they probably could have found different ways to do it, but hey, you know what? We have what we have. This is all we're going to get. The Alien franchise is, I'm not even sure what's going on with it now. I think it's probably going to get dumbed down, and I don't think the audience was like me. I don't think I share the opinion of most people with these movies. Like, I'm not sure most people wanted Alien to get into these deeper meanings and these, more interesting kind of storylines. I think people kind of just want repeats of Alien. If that's you, then let me know. I'd be interested, because I don't really know, but I kind of feel like that's where they're going to go with the Alien franchise from now on. I kind of feel like it was the antithesis of Requiem and Alien versus Predator, where it was just a popcorn kind of movie, and let's not put any kind of thought into the movie. Let's just kind of have this idea, and, like, people killing each other. Let's do that. And then it became then came Prometheus and Covenant, and they're actually trying to explore these deeper storylines and ideas. And I'm not sure that they were well received, and I think that the studio kind of took the hint, and they're not going to do that anymore. So I think that's kind of a bummer. But you know what? I'm trying to just, like, appreciate what we've got, because that's all we're going to get. So it's good to find the positive in some of these things. Even though it might not be overall positive. It's just, you know what, let's glean from it what we can, the good things, because, you know, that's the golden age of cinema, I think, is over. I don't know what's going on with Hollywood or movies or anything, but it's kind of hard to find good content nowadays. Sort of, I felt like a lot of stuff with the Acolyte going on right now, where it's been created by people who don't really understand, you know, the franchise, and that's purposeful. So fans actually have a better understanding of the content that these people are creating. I think that's not a good thing. You know, the way they're doing it, I think that it's going to create a lot of problems. And you know, that's sort of what I felt in, and it was even in Covenant, because, you know, when we're talking about the timeline, like, how does David creating the egg, the face huggers, how does that fit into the rest of the movies? Because that doesn't make sense. How did people back on Earth not kind of hear about all that stuff that happened? I think they might have addressed that a little bit, because they did know who Elizabeth Shaw was. Walter did. And, you know, I loved, like, Naomi Rapace's character, and I really wish they could have given her a scene in Alien Covenant. And again, I feel like there was some sort of scene, maybe it was a trailer or just like a deleted scene, where they did, and it was pretty cool. And I was kind of disappointed they didn't actually put that in. I also remember it being a little bit disappointing, where just like the rest of the movie, where you kind of were hoping that they could have done something a little bit cooler than they did, but you know what, it was just like, oh, I'll take it. Which is kind of the feeling you get from a lot of this movie. Like, I'm disappointed, but I guess I'll have to just take it. Oh well. So there we are. Those are my feelings on Alien Covenant. I'm glad I was able to finally watch it again, and, you know, give it a second chance, even though I was very disappointed in it whenever it came out. I'm also in the process of rewatching Prometheus. I started it last night. I own Prometheus. I've watched that movie so many times, and I know there's a lot of hate for that movie, but I do like it. It works really well as a horror movie in a sci-fi skin, and it does explore bigger concepts that, you know, sci-fi novels tend to get into, which is something I really like. It has a great soundtrack too. Like, they really nailed that Prometheus theme, and I enjoyed that David played a little bit of that in Covenant. That was kind of a cool throwback, because that's a good song. And, you know, a lot of you watch Covenant and then you go back and watch Prometheus, and you're like, oh yeah, see, like, that is just, they really well done. Like, they did it better in Prometheus. But you know what, I guess the only thing I really liked about Covenant was they tried. And they explored the comparison between xenomorphs and AI. That's what I felt like the most successful part of the movie was, where it's like, oh, AI is gonna be AI is gonna outlast and survive and create all these problems, which I definitely think it will. Hopefully it doesn't, but, you know, hopefully I'm wrong. But I think it's already doing a lot of damage, and a lot more damage than it is doing good. we'll wait and see, I guess. I don't think we'll have to wait too long. But here we go. Alien, wrapping up my thoughts. What was your opinion on Prometheus? Did you like Prometheus? I would also point you, if you had any interest in Prometheus, there's been some really good like deep dives into Prometheus where they explored parts of the scripts that got left out. I forget who the YouTube person was, but they did a great video on, you know, like how good Prometheus could have been if they had stuck with the script and not sort of edited out so much of it. There was a lot more interesting things that they left out with the creators, and part of me is wondering if they did that because they felt like they were going to offend religious people. You know, you have to wonder, do you think they thought it was going to be, you know, the target of a lot of controversy and, you know, like boycotted and all that stuff? I don't know if that affects people's, what they do, but, you know, what they do at studios, but it makes me wonder because there was a lot of like religious kind of stuff where they get into the engineers and, you know, that sort of stuff. Where do we come from? That really offends a lot of Christians and religious people. So I don't know. Maybe they were trying to shy away from too much of that. Maybe that's why the second movie didn't get made. But yeah, that's where I stand. I really wish they could have gotten into that a little bit more. That would have been fun. That would have been really fun to nerd out on. I think, you know, that's sort of why you get a lot of people interested in your stuff, is like, who else has, you know, explored where life came from in a movie, like in a, you know, story that's not meant to be like, oh, this is like we're not telling you what really happened. You know, there's stuff like, if you remember the Da Vinci Code. The Da Vinci Code was pretty crazy. All the amount of, was it not backlash, but the amount of craziness that came from that, where, you know, a lot of people started believing that it was like a true story and there was a lot of truth to it, and it caused a lot of controversy. Kind of wonder if that was something. I wonder if the same studio made Da Vinci Code. You know, that would be interesting to figure out too. Because I remember there was, like, after that movie came out, there was all kinds of, like, churches you would see doing deep dives into Da Vinci Code, being like, is it true? And that kind of thing. Like, a lot of people were definitely felt like, you know, abandoning the Christian faith because of that movie, which was pretty crazy. Oh boy, I gave her some hair right there because she does have it there, but it didn't come out too good. It's a little bit fine. I'm kind of losing my voice, so I might have to stop talking. I might go ahead and stop streaming and do a new stream, and this will be the stream of my thoughts about Alien, Prometheus, and Covenant. And this is our main character of Mansion of Many Mistakes. She is a good looking main character, I'll just give her that. So this is Crib Keeper 16. I'm in pre-order production right now. Pre-order is going to be out at the end of July, which is, you know, a week away. There's also going to be the full release next month in August. At the end of August, we'll have, you know, all 16 to 18 pages ready to go. So stay tuned. This is OkayOkayOkOk. Thanks for stopping by and listening to me talk about Alien. I'm excited for Romulus, and I hope it delivers. We'll see. It's Disney. All right. Catch you guys later.